I'd like to welcome Sheriff Jeff Christopher. He's one of the constitutional sheriffs many people have probably already heard about. I wanted to give you a chance to talk about that. I also have some other questions for you, but first let me just welcome you to articlev.org and give you a chance to say hi to everybody.
Well, thank you, and it's my honor to be here with you.
First of all, can you explain what the constitutional sheriffs are and what the mission of the constitutional sheriffs is?
Well, in the United States, as you know, the sheriff is elected. He's elected at the county level, but he is a state officer. He represents the Constitution of that state, and he has a commission to serve the people and to be the interposer on behalf of the people should there be any threat, both foreign and domestic. That is in the form of tyranny, of course, of what we're seeing here today. When the rights, the constitutional rights, everyone knows the Constitution has regard to property and the liberties that we have here in this country. And the sheriff, not only is he deemed to be the law enforcement or chief law enforcement officer in every county that he's elected in the United States, his duty and role is to be an interposer on behalf of the people to protect them from the tyranny that I mentioned before. And if someone's constitutional rights are being infringed upon, it's up to the sheriff to basically stand in regard to their freedoms and make sure that they're protected. Most people will tell you that they feel pressured and they feel kind of claustrophobic with what the federal government has been instituting in the way of these mandates, and they don't want their rights removed. One of the problems that we do have is there is a large sense of apathy still existing out there, and people need to understand that this is about them. The government is of the people, for the people, and by the people, and if people are not paying attention to what kind of government exists in this country today and in these times, then they get what they deserve by not paying attention. It's kind of like walking out of the road and not paying attention to the truck coming down the street.
Yeah.
We must really be vigilant and make sure that we understand, get involved, and react to these kinds of tyrannical measures and movements.
Right.
And this is what the role of the sheriff is at the county level.
Now, I've been saying for a long time that it doesn't seem like the government follows our Constitution, and they ignore quite a bit of it, and they get away with it because the Supreme Court builds these interpretations of the Constitution to the point where it almost seems like black is white and white is black, and we almost need a constitutional revival to reaffirm those rights in our Constitution, and so it's very clear to the Supreme Court and all those in the government and Congress that they shouldn't be trampling our rights with the laws that they're passing and these legal nuances. Do you feel that we need a constitutional revival in a sense?
Yes, we do, and let me tell you what my view is on that. Just about every organization that forms itself is most impressionable at the head level of it by its ground and foundation, and of course in this country is the people. I live over here near Washington, D.C., and I've watched many people come and go, and they've come out and picketed and held their signs up and what have you, and it makes a media flash, if you will, but the real action and activity that is positive in nature is not running to Washington, D.C., especially these days and times, because they simply ignore us. And it doesn't matter what size of a crowd that you have, because eventually they handle the crowd and it moves on, and they're used to those kinds of things. But what they can't handle and what they don't expect is for the people to basically control the mechanism of government through the town hall meetings and force those closest to them that are elected representatives, such as the mayor and the council and the city councils and the town councils, and then upwards to the county councils. and hold these people accountable for what they are doing and deciding at this level that is literally condoning the state and federal level to do what they're doing today. So what we need to do is we need to build a solid movement of people that show the solidarity of America through these efforts and these grassroots efforts to change the lives of people in Washington, D.C. If we show them full out and all the way through the system of representation that we have, one to another, one level and up to the other, we have the most influence going through it, and we will have the most effect when we get to the end of it, because we can clean out Congress, which is, in my opinion, needs to be happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
These people have basically forgotten where they come from. They don't care about the people. They cannot relate to the people anymore. And in my estimation, based on what my mother and father told me when I was young, we knew what was happening to the government. It wasn't listening to the people in the latter part of the 70s and 80s. It's now come to a pinnacle where we must decide whether we're going to have a government for the people, by the people, and of the people. And in order to maintain that, we have to move from the bottom up so that we have a strong root system and a strong, you got to remember, once we clean this up, it's got to stay clean.
Right.
And
right.
The education system will have to change and completely throw out this negating the Constitution and what the founding fathers had as an intent to keep this country free. And if we don't fight for this now, if people don't start to wake up and put down the idea of just not even worrying about what's happening around them until it actually affects them and it comes to their own backyard.
Right.
We have to worry about it, whether we're being directly affected. Now, I'm speaking of individuals, whether we're directly affected by the moves of the local government or not, because what you've been seeing at the local levels is certain things that are happening. Now, everybody in this country lives in a county.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure in Hawaii how it is there. In Hawaii, I think you have sections divided up like a county, and you do have sheriffs there too, correct?
Well, we do have a police chief. Our island is a county itself. There's another county that's other islands, and they break it up on smaller islands. But we have a police chief here. It's not quite a sheriff, I believe. So,
is he elected or appointed?
He is elected. He is elected.
And that's a good thing, because what he's doing is he's acting just like the sheriff.
Yes.
Because once you have that system of election working for you, he answers directly to the people and not to a bureaucracy or to the corporate. And when I say the corporate, that's the state or the county or the city. They represent the government, and they will stand for the government and the power of the government. And that goes double-fold for the federal government as well. When the federal government comes in and intrudes upon the business of the state and the county, then you have that individual who should. That's not to say that he would.
Yeah.
That's the trouble and the struggle that we're having right now. Now, it might be interesting to say that a couple of years ago, through CSPOA, which is the Constitutional Sheriffs and Police Officers Association, that was also founded by Sheriff Mack in Arizona.
Uh-huh.
It started out with about 90-some-odd sheriffs that were on board with this constitutional movement and understanding of that responsibility and that role. And now, with the Second Amendment movement and what is happening and the erosion of our rights, or at least the idea, now it's happening right here in Delaware and it's happening in Maryland. They passed in the House, I believe it was, or the Senate rather, passed today bills that basically restrict gun ownership and how you're able to store and keep guns and what have you, and how you're able to use them. Now, it says in the Second Amendment that no part of it shall be infringed. I don't understand why these people can't see this.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a movement to control the people, and this is what we've got to stand up for.
Yeah.
Defend ourselves.
Well, let's get back to the people real quick, because as you know, I'm a supporter of an Article 5 convention. I definitely believe in the people to basically get together in town halls like what you're talking about. But it's something that would be legally actionable. But a lot of the resistance to it these days is that people that say that we're not up to the task as the people, and there's no Patrick Henrys out there today. Do you think that the people that we have in America today are of the caliber that would put the country first in an effort to find middle ground and agreement and come together as people, as you say, in maybe a town hall setting or something like that?
Well, these particular movements, like an Article 5 convention, when people move more and more towards the idea of saving America, and so much as how we, in a conservative sense, look at the task that's ahead of us, usually that kind of movement will give birth to people as they move through this, and they're educated by the process itself, that become the leaders and the Patrick Henrys of the day. Now, I will say this, that today America, their focus is very peripheral. It's off to the sides, that it doesn't seem to be on the target today because there's so much confusion and so much distraction about what the Constitution really means. And that is the fault of our own, because we allowed the system to change so dramatically and so drastic that today you say the word Constitution, and most kids in the school really don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
If you say something like, do you know what the Bill of Rights are? I've had kids start to tell me what the Ten Commandments were when I said what the Bill of Rights. They just don't know.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, that's our future right there. And
right.
If we don't grasp in our generation, this specific generation, to hold on to what and I believe we're probably one of the last generations to get the full effect and understanding of what the Constitution was and what its intent is. And we need to bring it back to its highest level. And it's taking an Article 5 convention as it goes through what I was just speaking of. And it could come through a variety of venues and activities. It could be the Second Amendment that sets it off. It could be, I believe it's probably going to be a little bit deeper attack, because I think the next thing they're going to attack is the First Amendment. Things that you say.
Definitely.
And the media is not going to be so powerful then, because they're going to be restricted, and they're going to keep on moving towards this tyrannical, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess it's diabolical idea that they can just take over the world and control the people, and have them do and say whatever this government dictates it to say, and then there you have another communist situation, and even worse, you have slavery.
Right. Now, we were talking with Judge Brennan. He was the Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court back in the 70s. And he said that it's possible in the Constitution for, he used as an example, the president could ignore the requirement for the State of the Union address. And the Constitution says he must do it, but it doesn't say what you're supposed to do if he doesn't. So when they don't obey the Constitution, he says it's up to the people to enforce the Constitution. How would you suggest, because I really, I don't believe in Second Amendment solutions. I believe in Second Amendment rights, but I don't believe that people should take up arms against their government. What would you suggest that people do to regain the power of their Constitution, and or enforce it and make sure that our government's following the Constitution?
Well, I'd have to go back to the idea that if you look at now I've been a police officer for most of my adult life. In fact, all of my adult life, and it's 30 some odd years of what I put into it. And the one thing that I can recall about the power of people is it is the most powerful when people of like-minded ideas, with like-minded ideas, and that are familiar with each other, move in a direction, and then other people start to look at this and say, I want to join this activity. And that's what I referred to before as the grassroots movement. I think that it is going to be an unstoppable force if the United States continues to erode like it's doing, and to basically overthrow the will of the people. The people need to start educating themselves, number one, moving in a direction. Remember I said we're probably the last generation. So this has got to be a swift thing. And I believe when people feel threatened, and they have the ideas of family and friends and acquaintances, that's where the most trust lies with people, and that's at a local establishment or a local venue. Even though, I've been traveling across the country a bit talking about this very thing, and I've been invited by people that are like-minded, such as conservative, libertarians, Republicans, Tea Party people, constitutional sheriffs, and the like. And when I go there, I feel a brotherhood there. And I can only tell you that if I was in a separate venue where it was a liberal or a room full of liberal people, I would certainly not be as welcome. So it has to start with that group of people, and we don't have any time anymore to sit and listen to things that are going to happen to the world 50 years from now. We need to look at the most imminent things, the imminent threat that is there at our doorstep, and stop listening to these people that are trying to make us worry about the EPA and all the different things that are going to affect us maybe in the future, 20, 30, 40 years from now, and start focusing on what's going to affect us tomorrow. In so much as our freedoms and liberties, because once you take those freedoms and liberties away, the EPA and all the rest of the things that we have to worry about keeping the earth is not going to matter, because we're not going to have any control over it anymore. We have to make sure that if we are free people and we remain a free people and not slaves, then we have to work on that first. It's kind of like when you're driving a car down the road and something starts to fail. Well, your tire starts to go flat, and the oil in the car runs completely out of oil. Well, you certainly are concerned about the flat tire or the tire getting flat. The car will still roll, but if you take that oil out of that engine, you're going to have an overheating situation. You're going to be on the roadside before you know it. And you have to just make sure you pay attention to the most imminent threat first, and getting the people together and making them realize, or showing them to make them realize and understand that it affects them just as much as it affects you, even though it might not be in their own backyard. At that particular time, it's going to be eventually.
Right. Now, you're obviously conservative. I'm progressive. I'm with the Occupy movement too, this is today. We're on the eve of the sequestration, which to me seems like a lot of political theater on both sides with very little action. And to me, it really is a symptom of a broken problem. We're almost dating this recording by talking about this, but this is a really important thing, and I don't think a lot of people really understand how it fits in with the big picture. And as a conservative, what's your take on what's going on in Washington right now? And again, is there any way the sheriff, as the highest law enforcement officer, can help us in any regard with this?
Well, the first part of the question is, I think that Congress is completely broken. There is no accountability anymore. They don't care about with the exception of a few. Um, they don't understand and relate to the real problems of the average American anymore. I think they have basically positioned themselves into a category that is, they're the ones who get raises no matter what. When the cuts come, they don't get the cuts. They get special favors. In fact, Obamacare is not going to affect them. The American people need to wake up and realize, wait a minute, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And this is not, it's almost like they're building a boat, and their intent is to keep us outside of the ark, if you will.
Uh-huh.
And when the floods come, we're the ones who are going to drown, and they're simply going to be able to start over at some point. Now, just using that analogy of the flood in Noah, but I think that the system in Congress, I think it's 525 people that actually make the decisions in this country. They have lost touch with the reality of this country because they have buffered themselves away from the actual reality. They have enough money to pay their bills. They don't have to worry about it. And here's the kicker. They get paid no matter whether they're out there actually doing something for America or if they aren't doing anything for America. And I believe for the last 10 years they haven't been doing much at all.
I have to agree.
They've been going in the party sense, doing what they deem is necessary, making deals, shaking hands, and it really has not helped Americans at all. It has diminished America to the point where we're the lowest moral state that we've ever been. We're divided more so than we have ever been. We're economically stressed more than we've ever been. And when I say that, I include the fact that the population is much greater than other challenges we've had in the past. And you can't really go back and say, well, this is kind of like the recession in the 20s. Well, the resources in the 20s were not as great as they are today. However, the population was much, much less. But the ideas and technology that exist today is not afforded to the people by this government. In fact, they do everything they can to cut it away, and the dependence that might be there for the homeless or persons who are foreclosed upon and are about to be homeless, there's no consideration given there.
Right.
In fact, the focus is rather on the money, and it's there upon the money and not upon the faces of reality, which is the people that where it should be, the afflicted that's in this country. And they're way, way, way out of touch. And as far as what the sheriff can do, in those kinds of situations, all of it is threaded through the economics, of course. Money drives everything. But I can tell you this, that the sheriff, if he is of the mind that he can bring his community together, he will play a major role in the survival after the bomb hits, if you will. And if you want to use that cliche, but he has a responsibility to make sure that he still protects the people no matter what, because that's the first role of government to begin with. He needs to unite that community and bring that community together and start looking for ways to bring back that community to a good standing after whatever may come of this sequester. Cutting funds to separate programs, different programs, means that we're going to have to start relying upon each other in a larger sense, and it's going to bring a better meaning to we are our brother's keeper.
Right. It actually it makes me a little bit sad to hear you say too, when you were getting back to when you said that you need to start kind of in your own political ideology in a lot of ways. When I hear you talk about people getting foreclosed on and stuff like that, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of difference between us. And I just told another person today, with this sequestration thing hanging over the top of us, it almost doesn't seem the solutions that they're talking about it doesn't really seem like there's conservative and liberal anymore. It seems like there's austerity and then there's resistance to that.
Well,
And
yes, you're closer to that description than you know, because it's about attitude, and it's no longer the brotherhood that existed. I said something before about the 20s. People would take other people in their homes and never question it. Today, there seems to be an ideology that it's every man for himself, and they won't open their arms to welcome each other in. And therein lies, because it's happening right now, even in the government. One will not extend his hand to another because there's always some sort of a payment due. And when someone can't make that payment, then of course he's ostracized to some degree or another. And what you just said describes the whole entire. If you step back and look at it in the long view, that's exactly what you see.
yeah,
That's happening and unfolding right before our very eyes.
yeah, we really do need to start working together better, and hopefully all those wedge issues are going to start disappearing. And when people like you and I on the right and left can come together and have a civil discussion about where the country needs to go for the next 100 or 200 years, I hope that we can do that much more civilly than our politicians seem to be able to. I also want to want to give you a chance too to talk about the event that the constitutional sheriffs have coming up here. Is it this coming month?
Yes, we have a few that are coming up. Are you speaking of the CSPWA event in Newark, Delaware on the 16th? And before that, we have the lawsuit I mentioned to you before that I have against the attempt to diminish the role of the sheriff and diminish the sheriff altogether in Delaware. We have opening arguments there for that case. That's on the 8th of March. And the 16th, Sheriff Mack will be here in Delaware in Newark. Newark, that's Newark.
Uh-huh.
And he's here to educate the surrounding area and community about what the role of the sheriff is, and more importantly, the Constitution. And as well, we have April the 6th, we have the Institute on the Constitution, which is Mike Peruta out of Annapolis, Maryland. And he's coming over to Delaware to offer the same thing, and Sheriff Mack will be back here at that point. We had Sheriff Arpaio on the schedule, and he's been diverted with some other challenges. In fact, he fell and broke his arm, I believe.
Oh.
And he is recuperating right now in good spirits. I have not had a chance to talk to him since the fall, but I'm assured by some other people that we know that are around him that he's doing well. And he is facing a recall notice out there over the immigration issue. And he, to know that man personally, you would understand right away that he has the best intention in his heart, and he knows what he's doing. And people should basically just leave him alone and let him do the job, because he's not a prejudiced man at all. In fact, he cares about what the illegal immigration brings to the country by way of drugs and illegal substances. It's a pathway by which that cancer, if you will, introduces itself into America and into the minds and bodies of America's children. And it's an ever growing epidemic and a problem and a challenge for us. But every little thing we can do to help deter that only means that our future will be brighter and smarter, and at least not drugged down. We don't want any more people acting like Congress is acting right now with any kind of inducement, because that's what you think about when you think about Congress. Well, where's all the common sense? They must be on drugs. And I've heard all kinds of cliches, but we certainly don't want to invite it into the country for sure.
Right. Okay. Well, again, appreciate all your time, and definitely we appreciate your service and looking out for us out there every day, and taking the time to explain why you basically do what you do. I think it's really important, and people really need to understand what motivates people too. So again, thanks for your time, and hope we get a chance to talk again at some time in the future, and wish you luck with the Constitutional Sheriff's Group and everything.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to future conversations.
Great. Aloha.
Take care.
Perhaps a super Minnesota could go to chill on my elbow and let me dance to the tune of the sirens as they get closer. It's holding breath like it prevents death, though it slows the pulse and oh, it comes in waves that bitterness fades. Plays in every passing phase that paves the path for a winter so cold it'll freeze your ass, but only for the blink of an eye, the length of a breath, the static in between the audible frequencies you got left like you're banging on aluminum. You're banging on aluminum. Here, the heart will melt. Here, the tide will turn. Here, it all will thaw. And in the end, you just you just want summer. We just want summer. We just want summer.